Welcome to the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, where authors from all walks of life come together to discuss the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of publishing their books. I'm your host, Corey Graham. Join us here every Friday night at 8 p.m. or listen anytime via podcast at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and PodServe, to name just a few. The Author Roundtable is sponsored by ReaderHouse Online Bookstore, where the independent new authors come first. Authors Dr. Richard Marklund and Dr. Ann Marklund have written a new book that's an exploration of the Beatitudes through the cross-cultural and psychological insights. The name of the book is Blessed, The Healing Power of the Beatitudes, 8 Cross-Cultural Steps to Emotional, Relational, Spiritual Wholeness. And Richard and Ann are right here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. We get to talk all about it. Richard, Ann, welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Can you tell me all about Blessed and what readers can expect here?
What people look for in life, what this world offers as blessed, is so opposite of what God offers as blessed. The world has its own triune God, wealth, power, prestige. This is what people seek to have, whether they're lower, middle, or upper class. It offers something for life, but not the depth that they desire, because even the highest up seeks more wealth, power, prestige than they already have.
And the Beatitudes turn this upside down. They're talking about the poor in spirit. They're talking about those who are persecuted. God's view of this is truly an upside-down kingdom.
And it's an interrelational kingdom, starting with internal relational kingdom. One's relationship to their self, to look depth, especially into the shadow part of their life, the relationship with God, with others, with nature and technology. What is healthy? What is dysfunctional? A good modern term for sin would be dysfunctional or disharmony. What in my relationships are dysfunctional? How am I causing disharmony in these relationships?
And God offers a way out of that disharmony and dysfunction.
It's a process building. The first 4 Beatitudes deal with the internal part, creating it within. The next 4 is living it without, bringing it to completion in all areas of life.
What kinds of readers do you think this book would connect with the most?
I think that Christians as a whole need to look at this as a deeper study. It certainly puts the Beatitudes, these ancient Jewish thoughts, into modern psychological terms. But I think, too, is specifically built around the Beatitudes. So people within Celebrate Recovery kind of addiction kinds of backgrounds can find some real freedom through it. I think, too, some counselors can look to it to help them use scripture to talk to people.
My doctorate is in human behavior. Ann's doctorate is in special education. We try to combine these two to bring out the wealth of the Beatitudes in our everyday life today, not just making the old traditional sermon on it.
I think, too, even someone who is not a Christian but is looking for spiritual depth could gain from it. I think mainly it will speak to Christians, but I think that there is food there for those who are just spiritually seeking.
What is truly necessary to walk in the fullness of God in our relationships? It's a lifelong process, but the Beatitudes speak it out, and it's there plainly if we want to listen and think about it.
So how did you get the idea to start on this? What was your inspiration?
When I was a teenager, 63 through 66, the Beatitudes really hit me, and I wanted to really zero in on that. And even back then, eventually I wanted to write a book on it. Deep in my mind, I figured, well, it's going to be when I'm old, and it's turning out to be that way.
So I took 40 years of Rick's sermons, and these are his ideas, not mine, but I wordsmithed it for him. And I also added in the cultural sidebars that relate to our time overseas. We've spent 10 years in South America and 11 years in Asia, and we're in our 14th year in Africa. Right now, we live in Rwanda, Africa.
Well, I think this book is going to help an awful lot of people. Again, it's titled Blessed, The Healing Power of the Beatitudes, 8 Cross-Cultural Steps to Emotional, Relational, Spiritual Wholeness. It's written by Dr. Richard Marklund and Dr. Ann Marklund, and it's published by Christian Faith Publishing. Find it at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Well, Richard, Ann, it's been wonderful meeting you and talking with you here today. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Author Bob Matthews has written a children's tale that celebrates imagination, time, and the simple joys of life. It's titled A Day Comes to Your House. And Bob is sitting right here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, and we get to talk all about it. Bob, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Well, hey, thank you for hosting me.
Bob, can you tell me all about what readers are going to find when they get into A Day Comes to Your House?
Well, it's a little story about an imaginary day that comes to a child's house, comes to share time and seasons and things to do and things to see. It's a fun friend that wants to have fun and learn things and likes to be excited and creative and makes your eyes sparkle and makes you laugh and giggle and enjoy the day.
Would you say this is for younger children or older children or maybe all children?
Well, usually probably I would say the younger children up to maybe 8 or 9, something like that. And of course, in today's world, kids grow up so fast. I think it would be really appropriate for kids that had an imagination and were young enough to enjoy the small friend and yet knowledgeable enough to learn about time and the seasons and enjoy being a friend.
So, Bob, how did this come about? What was your inspiration to write this?
I've always kind of liked poetry. I've liked stories. I liked Bible stories. I liked Aesop's fables. All of the nursery rhymes and fairy tales always interested me, and I have a pretty good imagination. And it's just kind of a hobby, I guess, to create fictional things and think about them. And my mother was a big inspiration to me. She told me stories, bedtime stories, fairy tales, and she loved poetry and loved old-time folk tales about people's lives that were interesting and made me want to create.
So you enjoy writing. Have you been published prior to this?
No, I haven't. I've written several stories and short stories, but this is the first thing I ever decided to make a book out of it.
So once you sat down, you got started on it. Was this a long process overall for you, the writing part, publishing, everything?
Well, really, the writing was the short part. The publishing was the long part. I never realized what all it took to put a book together. It went over a period of time with, in my mind, when I do something, I think about it and I think I've got it right. But then after I look at it again and again, sometimes I make changes. Some of the length of this book being published was my fault. Changes I made, different thoughts that I had as I went along. But the storyline was complete.
And so once you started working with your publisher, Christian Faith, Bob, what did you find to be the most challenging part about that publishing process for you?
Well, I'm an older person. Dealing with the electronics and the emails and the different parts of the media, sending it back and forth, was probably the most difficult for me. I had some good help from the gals that were shepherding me through the progress. It was interesting to see all the different people that participated in putting a publication together.
Then after all the work and time that you put into this, it was finally a real thing. Your first copy came in and you're holding A Day Comes to Your House in your hands for the first time, Bob. What was that moment like for you?
Well, it was pretty good. It felt real good, and I was really proud of the way it looked. I liked the cover. I liked the way the illustrations were done. I was quite pleased with it, and it felt real good. Felt like I had actually created something I could hold in my hand and pass on to my grandchildren and maybe make a difference in the life of a child to have some fun with their days.
Well, it sounds like readers are going to love this book. Again, it's titled A Day Comes to Your House. It's written by Bob Matthews, and published by Christian Faith Publishing. So go on over to Amazon or Barnes & Noble or iTunes or right down the street at your local bookshop. You'll be able to find this. Bob, thank you again for coming on the show. It was really nice to chat with you tonight.
Thank you, Corey, and I appreciate your interview, and you have a very, very good day.
There's a new novel out written by A.E. Thomas. It's titled Rutted. And that's what we're talking about right now here at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. The author, A.E., is here with me. A.E., welcome. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Can you tell me all about Rutted, A.E.? What are readers going to expect here?
Okay, well, let me start with the title a little bit. It's a play on words. Most people ask me, what does that mean? And it's actually from the root word to be in a rut, R-U-T. But depending on what part of the country you come from, it could also be root, R-O-O-T. I know, like my grandmother used to say, you have to pull something out by the root. But I know in the Deep South, sometimes they say root. And so rutted can also mean that someone has perhaps put something in your food or maybe gotten a lock of your hair or whatever and put a rut or a root on you to make you fall in love with them. So it's a play on words. They are in a rut, but it's also rutted like he begins to suspect that this woman did something more than just charm him. It's a relationship novel, a romance novel.
What kinds of readers do you think this would connect with the best?
Honestly, I think it would connect with most people because it's just about two people who meet and start dating. It's nothing magical about that. But what happens after they meet and after they start dating and the changes that start taking place in his body, I think that would interest anyone. I think anybody could be entertained as well as engrossed in this novel. I really do.
So how'd this all come about? What inspired you to write it?
I actually know people, men especially, that will not, when they first meet a woman, they will not eat anything like a stew or spaghetti because they honestly think she may have done something to it. Young men, old men, it transcends gender, it transcends age and ethnicity. There are a lot of people, more than you would probably think, that really believe that this can happen to them, and they won't eat spaghetti. That's like the big thing. Don't even cook that for a man that you're just starting to date in certain circles because he won't eat it. So just from knowing that, I just begin to think how that would play out in a real life relationship. Like, how would that look?
So have you ever done anything like this before when it comes to writing and publishing?
I've published 5 books. 4 of them are series, and then 1 single book. So this is my 6th published book, but my first with Newman Springs. So I'm really excited about that.
So once you sat down, you got started on Rutted. Was this a long journey overall for you, the writing and publishing, the whole thing?
It was 2 years in the making, lots of research, had a few pitfalls in the middle there, a death in the family that I had to deal with, and a few other little things. But I would say the actual artistic process, if you would, was probably about 1.5 years to 1 year and 18 months. To about 18 months. Like I said, I didn't just think about it. I did some research. I actually have quite a bit of family in Louisiana, and they're very well-versed in that sort of thing. So I actually visited there, and I went through some books, and I've edited and I edited and I edited until I had a story that I thought anyone could enjoy, but could also learn something from.
So you had your manuscript ready. You started working with your publisher, like you said, Newman Springs. What was the most challenging part of that publishing process for you, would you say?
The editing, for sure. The editing. Because the thing about editing is you think you have a perfect product until they give it back, and all of a sudden you're the kid where the teacher gives you back your test with all the red marks on it. So the editing part was a little rough for me, but I appreciate it so much because the finished product is something I'm very proud of.
Well, this novel is titled Rutted. It's written by A.E. Thomas, published by Newman Springs Publishing, and available pretty much everywhere, like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. A.E., it's been great talking with you tonight and learning about Rutted. Thanks again for coming on the show.
And thank you again. Have a great day.
I'm looking at a book that's a vibrant tale for young readers, full of adventure and heart. It's titled Poor, Poor Alfred and the Mysterious Blue Bug, Ashton Ape's Apewood Adventures. It's written by Ultra-Gor, the Supergorilla, and W.C. Smith. And Ultra-Gor is here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. We get to talk all about it. Ultra-Gor, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you very much. This is a high honor. Thank you.
Can you tell me all about Poor, Poor Alfred and the Mysterious Blue Bug and what you've written about here?
Well, this book is about a noble mayor of a city of apes in a far-off land who must use all his wisdom to eliminate a citywide emergency, but he must reach out for God's assistance. And in doing so, he must seek a lonely and lost ape who desperately needs help as well.
And what sorts of readers did you have in mind? I see it said young readers. Is this a children's book then?
Yes, sir. The intended readers are youngsters about the age of 7 to 12. We hope the unique concept of a world of apes and simians will attract the young readers, will attract their attention, I should say.
What a wonderful idea. So how did the inspiration or the idea for this come about?
Well, Mr. Smith, W.C. Smith, once had a mental health counselor and explained to her that he was much better at written communication than talking. So this counselor strongly suggested that Mr. Smith take this skill and write a book. And for years, he had flashes of inspiration stored in his mind, and many of them were the basis of our story in this book.
So is this the first time you've been published then?
Yes, this is our first work, and if it's successful, we hope to continue with further books as well.
So once you got started on this, was this a long process overall, the writing and publishing and everything?
Not too long. Our initial draft took about 4 months, but the finished book, with all the details involved, did take almost 2 years.
And so once you hooked up with your publisher, Christian Faith, what did you find to be the most challenging part of that publishing end of things for you?
We believe the most challenging aspect was the patience in getting each step done, because we were realizing that they were working on other books from other authors simultaneously. And so I guess the waiting involved, that was the biggest challenge, but we knew how busy they were. So we were very patient with them, and they in turn were very patient with us, but we had to do.
Yeah, there's so much time and hard work that goes into something like this. So that day comes, it's finally real, the first copy is in, and you're holding it in your hands for the first time. What was that like?
We don't know if any of you have ever saw the movie Julie and Julia about Julia Child, but in the last scene of that movie, where Julia Child opens up the package and finally holds that book that she had been working on for so long, and she was almost in tears, that was Mr. Smith's and our reaction almost identically the same.
And so now it's out there. What would you say is the most rewarding aspect of this all for you?
We would think the starting a major project and instead of quitting on the way, to see it through no matter what it takes was the most rewarding aspect. This is something that Mr. Smith always had a problem with, because in his life he really never had much of a support group to cheer him on.
And something that is really important in a book like this is the illustrations, and they look great. So was that a smooth process for you?
Well, it was a challenge. There were several correspondences that went between me and the publishing agency and the artist. We had to go back and forth for each illustration about 3 times to get the real feeling of the picture to match what was written in the pages of the book. But it got done, and we were impressed with the results as well.
So you mentioned this earlier. You're hoping that there will be more out of this. And I notice it's Ashton Ape's Apewood Adventures Book 1, so you're hoping this to be a series.
Definitely. We have some ideas in mind, so we're hoping if the readers in the world like it well enough that we can, proceed to Book 2 and possibly Book 3.
Oh, what a wonderful book. Again, it's titled Poor, Poor Alfred and the Mysterious Blue Bug, Ashton Ape's Apewood Adventures. It's written by Ultra-Gor, the Supergorilla, and W.C. Smith. It's published by Christian Faith Publishing and available basically everywhere: Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Ultra-Gor, it's been wonderful having you on the show. Thanks again for being here.
It's been a genuine pleasure, and thank you so much for involving us in this. We do appreciate it.
The audiobook edition of the book by Nathan Jewell, titled The Journey to Felicity, a romantic comedy. Oh, it's out now, and we're going to be talking all about it. Nathan is here with me at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. Nathan, welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Nathan, can you tell me what readers and audiobook listeners are going to expect whenever they get into A Journey to Felicity?
Well, the book is it's a romantic comedy. It takes place between the time frame of 1987 and 2006. It's loosely based on a chance encounter I had on a Greek topless beach. So the main characters are Zach Stillman. He's a New York professional with a heavy accent, and he's seeking connection with his Greek heritage. And Felicity Williams is an office worker from Sheffield, England, with also a heavy accent, and she's on holiday to get past the year-long grieving of her departed mother. So having people with such different backgrounds, really, considerable different backgrounds that can barely understand each other, they meet on a topless beach. It leads really to memorable fish out of water experiences for both of them as they explore each other's families, religions, hometown cultures, and also it reminds us about the cultures and things going on in the 1980s. I mean, there wasn't any internet, there was smoking on airplanes, and there was letter writing. We didn't have social media, and introduces folks to the fashions and the music of the time. It is loosely based on experiences that I had. I met a gal when I was in my 20s when I was exploring my Greek heritage in Greece in the 1980s. And took that idea with the relationship I had at the time and sprinkled a lot of fun and adventure and comedy around that. And it turned out to be a book.
Nathan, is this all new to you? Have you ever done anything like this before?
Well, actually, it was the first time I ever did. I was always a math student in high school and growing up. I wasn't the writer, but it turned out to be kind of the legacy thing, the bucket list item that you had. I got into it. I learned a little bit more about how to write a novel, got very creative around things, used my right brain for a while, and it turned out to be really an excellent experience for me. It allowed me to become a much better writer and to express myself very well, and allowed people to have a lot of fun reading the book, and wanted to have the opportunity to bring that book alive more by moving it into an audiobook.
So you had the idea, you sat down, got started on it. Was this a long process overall, the writing and publishing and everything?
Well, once I got going, people have told me it was really fast. It took me 8 weeks to write the first draft, probably too fast, as I just got it out there. I self-published it and then did a rewrite 2 years later that really got it better to exactly what I was asking for. I got an independent feedback around it, so I was very happy with it. But I really didn't do any marketing, didn't have discussions in podcasts like with you today. But I really think it's very entertaining, and getting a professional voice actor to do all of the accents made the book really entertaining, and people are starting to listen to it and giving me fantastic feedback about it.
Was that a difficult process to find just that right voice you were looking for?
It was. I did some auditions, and this young lady picked the female lead so perfect in my mind that she had to be the one, and she also has a fantastic narrative voice. A lot of people, when they're listening to audiobooks, this book is 6.5, 7 hours, and you got to listen to someone. It's very pleasant voice, someone that you could just listen to all day when you're sitting out on the beach or on vacation. It really is a wonderful kind of experience for folks that just want to get away for their mind for a while.
Well, if you like romantic comedies, you're going to love this book. Again, it's titled The Journey to Felicity, a romantic comedy. It's written by Nathan Jewell, and it's published by the Audiobook Network. So go wherever you usually pick up your audiobooks, and you'll be able to find it, like Audible, iTunes, and Amazon. Nathan, thank you again for coming on the show. It was really great to talk with you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
The new book by Patty Dunkle is a heartfelt blend of autobiography, devotional, and Bible study. The book is titled Start at the End, My Walk and the 10 Commandments. And Patty is here with me right now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. That's what we're going to be talking about. Patty, welcome. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Patty, can you tell me what readers are going to expect whenever they open up Start at the End?
I think they're going to be very surprised at how I use the things that happen in my life and correlate them with the 10 Commandments and how I know that God has always been with me.
And Patty, what kinds of readers do you think this would connect with the most?
I think it'll connect with anybody who has had any sort of trauma in their life. If they've had abuse, neglect, sexual abuse, it's a huge range of emotions that we go through. And my book kind of tells the story of how I handled it. Even though I may not have known it all the time, God was always with me.
Considering the faith element in this book, Patty, would you say this is best for believers then, or pretty much everybody?
I think it's pretty much everybody. Of course, I'm a Christian, so I use that with how I wrote the book. But I also think that it will connect with anybody who has been through trauma, who has any sort of interesting life things that they've done, choices that have been made for them and to them. And I think that it's a different way of looking at how you as a person would be able to handle and see how I handled things and realize that the choices we make are what make us better.
How were you inspired to write this, Patty? Where'd that idea come from?
I myself was a victim of abuse. I had mental abuse, physical abuse, and sexual abuse. My physical abuse wasn't nearly as bad as I've heard others. Just the random slap across the face here and there, which most children, I would think, got a spanking at some point or another. But my abuse was more sexual and mental. I was often told every day how ugly, fat, lazy, stupid, and that goes on and on and on. And then my mother died from suicide when I was 12 years old. And when that happened, my uncle, who is supposed to take care of me and love me, decided to show me what boys would expect from a girl. And that's when the sexual abuse began. From there, my whole world crumbled. My mom was gone. My parents had divorced. My father had been an alcoholic for years. And it just was no turning back for me, so to speak. I had nowhere to go that I felt like I was cared for. And so unless I was needed for something, I was pretty much invisible in the house I grew up in. So it became very aware to me of how I was not going to treat others as I grew up.
So what does your writing background look like? Have you ever done anything like this before?
I've written some short stories, in college and in some classes in high school. And I really enjoy writing. I like the ability to make somebody come into that character or that story and just delve into it. I like to be able to include them into visualizing what is happening at any given moment.
So once you got started writing Start at the End, was this a long process overall, the writing and publishing and everything?
Oh, yeah. It really was. And nervous as I was, because I don't understand everything that's happening, as far as publishing. I'm just not that knowledgeable because I've never done anything like this before. So starting to figure out what I wanted to do, how I needed to do it, and just realizing, oh my goodness, all the steps that you have to do and take. And it has become a baby for me, basically. I'm raising it from this little thing into this big thing.
Well, I know so many people are going to benefit from this book. Again, it's titled Start at the End, My Walk and the 10 Commandments. It's written by Patty Dunkle and published by Christian Faith Publishing. So head on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, or traditional brick-and-mortar stores. You'll be able to pick this up. Patty, it's been wonderful talking with you tonight. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, and I appreciate your time. I hope you have a lovely evening.
Joining me right now here at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable is author V. Lee Harrity. Lee, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you for inviting me. That's very nice.
Lee, your new book is titled Come See Him. Can you tell me what you've written about here?
Well, there were three of us at one time. It was my wife, Charmaine, and my daughter, Heather, and myself. And we were evangelists, and we worked in churches and all sorts of things. And Charmaine, or in heaven, my wife just passed away 3 months ago.
I'm sorry.
And we've been married 61 years. And she was my accompanist. She was the best piano player that ever lived and the best organist as well. So that was a good deal. She was pretty, and she was all best. The story about it's a quote, I come see him, and it's my daughter speaking. She had passed away in 2007, and 1 week later, I had a dream. I don't remember dreams. I don't know how you are, Corey, but, the short-term memory is not that great. But at any rate, I had a vivid dream. And Charmaine and I were entering heaven through the gates, and Heather came running, and she had been there for some time now. She came running, and we hugged and whatever. But then the first thing out of her mouth was, come see him. Corey, it was beautiful. The three of us then were united, and we were going to see Jesus, the author of our faith. It all has to do with Jesus, and the worldview that we have is Jesus, and the afterworld is Jesus.
Lee, what kinds of readers do you think this book would connect with the most?
Well, Corey, I had a lot of experience. I taught high school for 16 years, and we have dedicated that book to the next generation, whatever that means. They're getting swamped with the media, the social media, and you matter and do it, and how important the individual is. And they're forgetting the fact that there's a authority set up in place. God is the loving Heavenly Father. Jesus died on the cross for them. And so my hope is that the next generation will receive this. You would think, well, I'm 90 years old, and I would appeal to 90-year-olds. But really, the book it's not chronological. It is chronological, but it isn't an autobiography. I'm really hopeful. I had wonderful experience with teaching high school, and the kids, they are so idealistic, and they'll do anything for you if they believe in what you're saying. And that's what teachers and parents have to understand. They are the next generation, and we have to bring them back, not to just the church, but to the Savior. So that's where the title came from, and that's what we hope to do.
Lee, have you ever done anything like this before, or is this all kind of a new thing for you?
During the time that I had, we still have a choir. It's called the Royal Way Choir, and they've been in existence for 50 years, and they're out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We do a lot of concerts at Carnegie Music Hall in Pittsburgh over the years. I was writing something that I called thoughts every month to them, because here I'm living in Texas now for this past 30 years, so just by email I would send them something. So this isn't a brand new thing, this first book of mine. I've been writing thoughts. So that's where you got the first notion about a book. It was with these thoughts.
So this is a very personal thing for you. Put a lot of work into it. What was it like when the first copy came in and you were finally holding it in your hands for that first time?
Well, it didn't come in one. It came 10. 10 came at one time. Covenant Books is the firm that we're working with. It was quite a thing to see 10 of those books. How did I feel? Humbled.
Well, what a great message in this book. Again, it's titled Come See Him. It's written by V. Lee Harrity and published by Covenant Books. So pick it up at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Lee, thank you again for coming on the show and telling me all about Come See Him. It was really nice to talk with you.
Thank you so much, Corey. It was nice talking to you.
I'm looking at the new book by Stephenie Sloan Soester. It's titled Chance Happenings of a Lifetime, Synchronicities with Proof and Connection. Stephenie is here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. We get to talk all about it. Stephenie, welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Well, thank you for having me.
Stephenie, can you tell me what you've written about in Chance Happenings of a Lifetime?
Chance Happenings of a Lifetime is a spiritual serendipitous book. I kept experiencing these little things you call coincidences. Everybody experiences them where you think of somebody and they call you, or you talk about a song and then it begins to play on the radio. These things were happening to me at an accelerated rate, and it was mostly that license plates were appearing before me that matched the thoughts in my mind. For instance, I was thinking for my bucket list, I just want to know how big God is. And then the license plate big was in front of me. Then I thought, if this is all real, just put him first. And I turned my head to the right, and there was a plate first. And it went on, and I began to think, how could this even be real? And just after the thought, wondering how it could be real, the plate Real Town was there. So I took pictures as I went along to prove that, I wasn't crazy, because for a little bit I thought maybe there it was. So I took the pictures for proof, and this happened hundreds of times. So I recorded them all, and it ended up telling a story.
Well, Stephenie, what sorts of readers did you have in mind for it?
I really wanted to just fall into whatever hands it needs to fall into. I think that it's going to catch both believers and skeptics.
So how were you inspired to write the book?
My biggest inspiration were probably a couple of people that I talked to. One told me, Stephenie, if you were just a person standing here telling me all this, I might think you're crazy, except that here you stand with all the proof in your hands. And another person told me, girl, this is huge. You need to get this somewhere. So I guess people guiding me along and encouraging me to share it helped me write.
So have you ever written or published before this, or is this kind of new for you?
This is my first book.
So was this a long journey for you overall, the writing and publishing, the whole thing?
The actual writing of the book took about 3 months, but I wrote from morning till late night, and sometimes I even woke up in the middle of the night remembering something I needed to put into the book. So the actual publishing has been about 1.5 years.
So once you started that publishing process with your publisher, Covenant Books, what did you find the most challenging part about that end of things for you?
The editing. We went over it 5 times. I'm actually a high school dropout. I got a GED, so writing was very challenging for me, but with the help of Covenant, we were able to pull it together.
So I could only imagine what you were thinking and feeling whenever the first copy came in and you were holding your book in your hands for the first time, Stephenie. What was that like?
The first time I printed the book to send to the publisher, my manuscript, I cried. I had a sense of relief that it actually got completed. And the next stage was when the real book was in my hands. I was overwhelmed. I was ready to call the publisher and ask them to take it off the shelf, because I realized, Stephenie, you've let everybody into your mind, and it's a very personal book. It discusses my personal life. It discusses everything that was happening. And it was just, did I really want the whole world to see what was in my mind? But I knew I had to share it.
And so now you're a published author, your work's out there. Stephenie, what would you say is the most rewarding aspect of this all for you?
The people that I've been meeting along the way that are sharing their stories. I had one man who was mocking God and talking about them as though they were these imaginary sky people that I had the pleasure of visiting. And he is now going to go have his children baptized. He said that his words were, Stephenie, if it were 1 or 2 coincidences or synchronicities, maybe nothing. He said, but you have too many. He said, it's truth and it's proof. So that was very rewarding.
Well, I think a lot of readers are going to be inspired by this book. Again, it's titled Chance Happenings of a Lifetime, Synchronicities with Proof and Connection. It's written by Stephenie Sloan Soester, published by Covenant Books, and available pretty much everywhere, like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Well, Stephenie, thank you again for coming on the show and telling me all about this book. It's been really nice to talk with you.
Oh, you too. I appreciate your time.
The new book by DARYL PRESSLEY is titled Biblical Experiences, and it's a powerful guide to overcoming life's challenges through faith and personal accountability. DARYL is here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. DARYL, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Corey.
DARYL, can you tell me about what you've written in Biblical Experiences?
Biblical Experiences, what I have done there are some experiences that have happened in the biblical area. And what I've done, I've brought it up to date to where we could experience it presently, like the mountaintop experience where, for example, Moses on the mountaintop, he was given instructions by God. Well, sometimes in our life, we need a mountaintop experience. We need to go to a plateau where we can receive instructions from God. You know, that's just one of many examples that I've used.
And DARYL, what kinds of readers do you think this would connect with the most?
I think it will connect with, I would say, anywhere from a Christian teenager to, it don't even have to really be a Christian, but I would say any young adult to mature age. Anybody that wants to seek guidance, anybody that wants to accept accountability, this book is for you. You know, a lot of times, Corey, we kind of fall under the Me Too movement, when a lot of times, a lot of things that happen to us is because we have allowed it to happen. So when you are at the point or the age in your life where you want to accept responsibility and accountability for some of the things that have happened in your life, then this is for you. This work is for you.
So, DARYL, how did this come about? What was your inspiration to start writing it?
The inspiration, because it came of self. As I was reading the Bibles and I noticed the different experiences that were plateaued in the Bible itself. The Patmos Island experience where John was exiled to the Patmos Island. Many times I felt exiled. On the mountaintop experience when Moses was on Mount Sinai to first receive instructions to go lead God's people out of Israel, then I said, you know, I've been in that place with God where he's given me instructions to go and lead my family. It doesn't necessarily have to be church or to lead people on my job. And then even in the valley experience where David fought Goliath, there's been many times in my life when maybe my bills were my giants, my families was my giants, my different sickness or ailment was my giants. And then a lot of times, Corey, I was my own giant. So that's what caused me to begin to write this work.
So have you ever done anything like this before, or is this all kind of a new thing for you?
Well, I've been in the book ministry for a few years. I didn't really press on it. Biblical Experience is really the revised version. I had an initial version of Biblical Experiences, but when that book was first released and also self-published, so many changes that came through my life. You know, I went through a season of being a hypocrite. I went through a season of divorce. I went through a season of being mad with God, being mad with myself, just being mad. So I just put the work down and I never pushed it. So God had continued to have grace and mercy on me. He allowed me to have a fresh start, a new family, begin to pastor his people. And I said, you know what? I need to pick up Biblical Experience and just redo the whole thing and have it as a revised version, because it doesn't need just to be on the shelf. It needs to be in the hearts of men and women.
So you hooked up with your publisher, Christian Faith. Once you started working with them, DARYL, what did you find the most challenging part about that publishing process?
To be honest with you, there were no major challenges except within myself. There were times, even when I did the revision, any author would tell you about writer's block. Even though I had a manuscript to build off of, I still needed to revise some of the paragraphs, some of the settings, and I got writer's block. But working with Christian Faith publishers definitely was not a challenge at all. I mean, I must admit, myself was the challenge, but not the publishing company itself.
Well, I know so many readers will be inspired by this book. Again, it's titled Biblical Experiences. It's written by DARYL PRESSLEY and published by Christian Faith Publishing. So pick it up at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. DARYL, it's been wonderful talking with you tonight. Thanks again for coming on the show.
You're so welcome again. Thank you, Corey, for having me.
Author Donald G. Thomas Sr. has written an inspiring children's book that teaches perseverance, self-discovery, and courage. The name of the book is Why Can't I Fly? And Donald is here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. We get to talk all about it. Donald, welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you so much. I'm excited about the talk today.
I'm excited to learn all about Why Can't I Fly? Donald, can you tell me all about it?
Well, approximately 2 years ago, I decided that I was going to write my second book, and I wanted it to be a children's book, and I'm a penguin enthusiast. So I decided to write about a penguin who has wings, and he doesn't know why he can't fly. And every day he sees all of these birds and bees and bugs and even some fish above his head flying, and he can't figure out why he can't fly. So as he grows bigger than, obviously he's an emperor penguin and they are quite large, but he grows bigger than all of the rest who were born around the same time. So they start to follow him around, and he wobbles because, penguins do not have knees. So they don't walk like humans. They will have to walk as a wobble. So this giant penguin is walking through, and they make way for him. And he dreams about flying. Every night he dreams about flying. So finally, one night, he dreams that he is flying. And he wakes up the next morning, his heart is pounding, and he climbs the highest iceberg he can find. And as he gets closer to the top, his heart starts to beat faster and faster, and he looks around, and there are thousands of other emperor penguins following him in a wobble as if they're in a trance. And they figure that, well, if Prince can do it, because his name is Prince, and if Prince is going to do something, we want to be a part of it, whatever it is. So they follow him right up to the top of the mountain, and as he gets to the edge of the iceberg, he wants to turn back because he's really afraid. And he turns to turn back, and the throng of emperor penguins behind him are marching forward, and they push him over the edge. And he now flaps his giant wings as if he is trying to fly. But his body is too heavy to carry that weight. And his instincts kick in, and he tucks his head and tucks his wings because he doesn't know what is going to happen when he hits that cold water below. But when he does, he finds out that he's still warm because of all the blubber that is covering his body and the 2 layers of feathers. And he looks around, he opens his eyes and he looks around, and there's plenty of fish and crabs and all kinds of seafood that he could eat. And he realizes that he can hold his breath for 20 or 30 minutes. And he's flying faster than most animals can walk on the land. And he eats all the food that he wants. And he realizes that his wings are not for flying in the air, but for flying in the water. And now he figures out that he can fly, but in the water. And now he wants to go around the world and tell all of his emperor cousins that their wings are not to fly in the air, they're to fly in the water. All because of the courage that he had and the faith that he had, he was able to accomplish this.
And there is nothing like seeing that finished product, that thing that you worked so hard for. So when that first copy was in your hands for the first time, Donald, what was that moment like for you?
Oh, my gracious. When I held it, I was like Prince. I didn't know what to think. I was tingling all over. I had it in my hand. I saw my name on the front of the book. I saw, Why Can't I Fly? And it was just, I didn't sleep. Seriously, I did not sleep the night. They sent me 5 books, and I cherished them, and I was calling friends and relatives and everybody, and went on the internet and calling and sending everybody, you got to see my new book. I was crazy about it.
What a great message in this book. Again, it's titled, Why Can't I Fly? It's written by Donald G. Thomas Sr., and it's published by Christian Faith Publishing. Pick it up at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Donald, it's been great talking with you tonight. Thank you again for being on the show with me.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, where authors from all walks of life come together to discuss the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of publishing their books. We hope to see you back here every Friday night at 8 p.m. or listen anytime via podcast at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and PodServe, to name just a few. The Author Roundtable is sponsored by ReaderHouse Online Bookstore, where independent new authors come first.